Hi everyone, I'm Shelly and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. Every now and then I like to share some books with you that I use to help me question the narrative, and I accumulated a few more into my personal library and I wanted to share those with you today. Once you go down those rabbit holes, you begin to realize that so many of the books that we look at as being fictional may have quite a bit of truth to them. And that's something that I've learned when it comes to the Ancient Earth trilogy. I have learned that when it comes to books by C.S. Lewis and, yes, by Tolkien, specifically The Lord of the Rings. Now, the books that I'm sharing with you today, I have not read completely through. Some of them I have started, others I have not started at all, but I wanted to give you an idea of where I get the information from that I use in a lot of my videos. So the first one is called The Secret Commonwealth of Elves, Fauns, and Fairies by Robert Kirk. And I'm just going to read the back of this to you. It says, late in the 17th century, Robert Kirk, an Episcopalian minister in the Scottish Highlands, set out to collect his parishioners' many striking stories about elves, fairies, fauns, doppelgangers, wraiths, and other beings of, in Kirk's words, a middle nature betwixt man and angel. For Kirk, these stories constituted strong evidence for the reality of a supernatural world, existing parallel to ours, which he passionately believed demanded exploration as much as the new world across the seas. Kirk defended these views in The Secret Commonwealth, an essay that was left in manuscript when he died in 1692. It is a rare and fascinating work, an extraordinary amalgam of science, religion, and folklore, suffused with the spirit of active curiosity and bemused wonder that fills Robert Burton's Anatomy of Melancholy and the works of Sir Thomas Browne. The Secret Commonwealth is not only a remarkable document in the history of ideas, but a study of enchantment that enchants in its own right. First published in 1815 by Sir Walter Scott, then re-edited in 1893 by Andrew Lang with a dedication to Robert Louis Stevenson, The Secret Commonwealth has long been difficult to obtain, available, if at all, only in scholarly editions. This new edition modernizes the spelling and punctuation of Kirk's little book and features a wide-ranging and illuminating introduction by the critic and historian Marina Warner, who brings out the originality of Kirk's contribution and reflects on the ongoing life of fairies in the modern mind. So I found this particularly interesting because not only is it a very old book, maybe not when it comes to ancient, maybe not very old, but several hundred years old. And it hasn't always been very easy to come across. But what I really found interesting about it is that it was written by an Episcopalian minister. So this is going to be coming through, in my opinion, a more biblical lens than if you would be approaching this topic through a secular point of view. Now, I've maybe gotten about halfway so far. And one of the very interesting things that I found that I will probably share in a question the narrative video at some point is that there is a portion of this book that speaks of something that a lot of times we will refer to as doppelgangers. And let me just read to you what it says here. A double man, or the shape of the same man in two places, that is a superterranean and subterranean inhabitant perfectly resembling one another in all points, whom he notwithstanding could easily distinguish one from another by some secret tokens and operations, and so go speak to the man his neighbor and familiar, passing by the apparition or resemblance of him. Then it goes on to say, the Roman invention of good and bad demons and guardian angels particularly assigned is called by them an ignorant mistake sprung only from this original. They call this reflex man I probably will say this wrong, koimimekid, or co-walker, every way like the man, as a twin brother and companion, haunting him as his shadow, and is oft seen and known among men, resembling the original both before and after the original is dead, and was else often seen of old to enter a house, by which these people knew that the person of that likeness was to visit them within a few days. This copy, echo, or living picture goes at last to his own herd. And then it continues on about this. But what I specifically found interesting is that it says people knew that the person of that likeness was to visit them within a few days. And that reminded me of the Gospels. When Peter is set free from the prison by the angel, and he goes to the house, and the servant girl answers the door, and she goes in and tells them that Peter is there, and they don't believe it, and they say it must be his angel. And that always confused me, and I'm thinking, how could they confused an angel with Peter? But I'm wondering if they possibly were speaking of something akin to what this book refers to as the double man. So it's something that I'm going to definitely look into more. And again, I've only read about half of this so far, but it's already given me some neat ideas for future videos. The next one I was going to say that I haven't started. I did get it from the library a while ago. I read a little bit, and then I was taking so long that I had to return it. But this is actually the Silmarillion. And this is by J.R.R. Tolkien. And this is the legendary precursor to The Lord of the Rings. So it's a prequel to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which I also read. And we do know that both Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were adepts, and so they were privy to information that people commonly were not privy to. And even today, most people don't realize how much these two men know. People today just have absolutely no idea. So the reason that I wanted to read this book is just because of the theme of the elves and the orcs, and it seems like it's very, very similar to what we are referring to as the Elohim, as the Nephilim. And I know that in fact some people who have commented on my channel have spoken specifically of this book, and they believe the allusion to possibly the millennial saints. So I'm going to read the back of this book to you in case you have never heard a summary of it. It says, set primarily in the first age of Middle-earth, the Silmarillion contains the legend of the creation of the world and an account of the elder days. So this also brings to mind right away for me the idea of the gap. We have this gap theory that I've talked about on my channel before. And so I just, think to myself, okay, is this referring to the time before day one of creation? It is the ancient drama remembered by Elrond and Galadriel in The Lord of the Rings, and the harrowing origin of the adventure that ends ages later with Frodo and the One Ring. At the story's heart are the three Silmarils, jewels that held within them the light of the two trees of Valinor. Two trees. And Feanor, the most gifted of elven artificers. When the two trees are destroyed, the Silmarils become coveted, setting into motion events that lead to the rebellion of Feanor and his kindred against the gods, their exile from Valinor, and their hopeless war against the greatest enemy Middle-earth has ever known, Morgoth. So that is another book that I now have for me to read and refer to. The next book that I'm going to share with you is Evidence of the Old World. And this one is by John Levi and David Edward. And this book, I'm probably about halfway through right now. It's very, very interesting. And I've already picked up so many tidbits of information, like the fact, and this is a spoiler alert if you're going to plan on reading this book, I'm not going to share a whole lot, but I never knew that there were 6 great fires in San Francisco in a year and a half. Yeah, I mean, I covered the Great Fires, not all of them, but I covered the whole event, all of the events of the Great Fires. I did cover those on my channel, and I never came across the fact that they claim that there were 6 Great Fires in San Francisco in just a year and a half time. And then on top of that, you throw in a major earthquake. And then they were supposedly rebuilding with these beautiful brick buildings with facades and everything after 6 fires. I mean, city destroying fires, costing millions and millions of dollars in the late 1840s and 50s. and then an earthquake. But they come back with all these bricks and somehow got them from somewhere and have these beautiful facades. And yeah, and so right now I'm also reading the part about the World's Fairs, which I have also covered on my channel. And it just, it asks a lot of questions that don't seem to get answered about the World's Fairs. Like, if 13 million people were coming to a city that normally only has 250,000, where were they keeping all these people? Did they have that many hotels? Who was feeding them? Where was all the food coming from? So really great questions in this book too. And so I will read the back of this to you also. Evidence of the Old World offers a groundbreaking re-examination of historical architecture and urban landscapes, challenging conventional wisdom through rigorous academic scrutiny. Utilizing multidisciplinary insights, this book unravels hidden complexities in history, providing a compelling read for anyone intrigued by the untold stories behind our built environment. Impeccably researched, it serves as an essential guide for questioning and understanding the narratives that have shaped our world. Set expectations aside, because this book promises an academic exploration unlike any other. With a focus on cartography, the authors begin their journey scrutinizing maps of North America. But this isn't merely a study of geography. It's a deep dive into historical events as portrayed through the maps of the time. As they delve into this analysis, an unexpected discovery on a San Francisco map pivots the entire study. The result? An all-encompassing investigation into this iconic city. The principles guiding the research are uniquely interdisciplinary. Occam's razor is adopted for analytical clarity. Syntopical analysis is utilized to cross-reference various disciplines, and the principle of means, motives, and opportunity is applied to critically examine the events that have shaped not just a city, but a continent. This multi-pronged approach assures that every rock is turned, every assumption questioned. This book doesn't merely challenge historical understanding. It compels readers to think critically, to question deeply entrenched beliefs, and to engage in the reevaluation of a history long considered settled. And we know that's not the case. If one has ever looked at a map and wondered what lies beneath the ink, if one has ever questioned the standard narratives that have been handed down through generations, then this is a must-read. Prepare to question, to doubt, and most importantly, to learn. And this book does also contain photographs. And I will say that some of the maps that it shares are interesting, but they can be very, very hard to see what is actually in them. And I get so used to looking at things on my phone that, like, as I'm looking at pictures on here, I'm like, wait, and I'm like trying to to zoom in, and I'm like, wait, this is a piece of paper. I can't do that. So I did find myself doing that a few times with this. But all in all, this is really an excellent book, and I know this is going to be a great resource. The last book I'm sharing with you today is Paradise Found by William F. Warren. And there is no summary on the back of this book because I was going to share it with you. Now, I don't know much about this book. The reason that I got this is because it was mentioned multiple times in the footnotes. You're going to hear my guinea pig squeaking in a minute because they're running around. Anyway, this book was mentioned multiple times in the footnotes of The Smoky God. And this is referring to the North Pole and to the entire region up there, and the idea that the North Pole was in fact where the Garden of Eden was located. So I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. I do have one other book that has been ordered but hasn't even been shipped yet, even though we ordered it like 2 weeks ago. So I'm like, come on, just ship it already. So I was hoping I would be able to share that one with you, but I can't. But when I get it, I will. But anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one either here or over on Instagram. And if you like my work, this is something new. I actually opened up my memberships on YouTube, so you can join the channel membership over at YouTube. You can check that out if you visit there, and I will leave a link to it also in the description box. But that's it, and I hope you have a great day.